order. Any public appearances? Okay,
Nope.
so I have a motion to move item 6, Be Like Boy, to the top of the agenda, just in case we have to adjourn quickly because of a tornado warning.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Anne. Is that a second from someone?
Jay.
Thank you, Jay. So Wendy, do we want to ask for an approval first, or do you want to explain it?
Let's go ahead and have a motion
Okay,
to approve.
can I
and
have
then
a
we'll-
motion to approve then item 6B, resolution R114-22, amending of the 2022 library budget, library book shelving?
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, so we discussed this last month. This is using money that we saved from the outreach librarian vacancy in January, February, and March. So we had salary savings and we had insurance savings. And it is moving that into the account that we use to buy furniture in order to replace the picture book shelving. We're keeping the like frame of the shelving. We're just swapping out about 2/3 of the shelves so that there'll be straight shelving instead of the bins. So it's a one-time savings and a one-time purchase, but we do have to do a budget amendment to do that. This will help us in a couple of ways. So it will help us increase the size of the picture book collection. It's our best circulating collection. So I think that will be really good for our circulation. I think the patrons will appreciate it. It will also save a lot of staff time in shelving because that shelving is very difficult to manage. Shifting and shelving are both really difficult. And I think patrons have trouble finding items. So it will also help us. I'm hopeful that the standards that we talked about last time, the Dane County library standards, are going to be altered. So we won't need to get the collection to the size that we had discussed. But if we do, this will help us do it. So it has quite a few benefits. And we're very lucky to have the money available to do it. Are there any questions about this?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries then. Thank you. So
Thank
we'll
you.
head back up to the approval of the May 2022 draft minutes. May I have a motion to approve, and then we'll have a discussion after that.
So moved.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Maggie, I did have two things then. In the minutes, it talks about Marcel asked a question, and we used past tense, and this is the old English teacher getting involved here. And then it should be people knew, it says, did they know about something? And which should be new. So that they're either asked, just so we have them the same tense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Either way. Okay.
Where are you though?
Where am I? Let me see. Let me open that up again. Let's see.
I've got it. If you
Under
Okay.
February 2022 financial overview. We've got two different tenses there.
Okay. As long as Maggie's got it, we're good.
Okay. And Maggie, the other thing under number 7, President's Report, I would like it to specifically say that I did thank Steve Arnold, the past president. It's not mentioned there at all. And just in case Steve does go back and read it, it would be nice to have the acknowledgement that we thanked him, that I thanked him for his service, yada, yada, yada.
Great.
Thank you. Anything else? Then all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we are back to the overview, the financial register and the financial overview.
Yes. Yep. Couple of things to mention, nothing giant. But if you look at account 240, we had elevator inspections and we passed. That's great. Sometimes our phone lines act funny and we don't pass and we have to do it again. So that was good news. And then the garage door repair. This was the mouse that took up residence in the motor of the overhead garage door. We also had some charges in 325. That was for PLA. Tegan went to PLA. Thank you, Tegan. We also had a refund there because I opted not to go. I think everything else. Oh, in account 355, we have, it's $3,180, and that's to Today's Business Solutions. That's our print management system. So we added that system early in the year with $10,000 that we had carried over from the 2021 budget. This is an additional charge. We upgraded the insides of the coin towers so that they're high capacity now, so they can give dollar bills as change. So we're not going through such a horrendous amount of quarters. And it's worked out really well because we have been able to kind of take money out and deposit it, but we're not having to refill the different coin amounts. So I think that was a good call. It also put both of those coin boxes on casters, whereas before, like those things are really heavy, especially with high capacity. Trying to move that was sort of a challenge. So now they're on casters and we just unlock casters and roll it around and it works out great. So that's what that charge is. That's kind of an unusual one that we wouldn't see often. I think that is everything that caught my eye. Is there anything that people had questions about?
I did have a question, Wendy.
Yeah.
Now I know that most of our service contracts are front loaded at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
So this is account 290. I just wanted to confirm with you that you're not concerned about just having 4% left in that budget item. Okay.
No, if you look at the register for the month of March, we've got Johnson Controls. So they do our fire safety testing, monitoring. And so that was the kind of the last big one that I was waiting to come in. I keep pretty close track of what we have left to pay. And there may be one more contract coming through for Envisionware, although I think we may not pay that. That would be like $1,000. So I think we're fine. We still got 5,000 left in there. So
okay, thanks a lot.
Good question though, because that's an odd percent to see at this time of year. Any other questions?
Then may I have a motion to approve the March 2022 financial register and overview?
So moved.
Thank you, Jay. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business. We don't have any.
Nope.
New business, electing a vice president.
All right, so it's my understanding that John Sarunian has agreed to be the vice president. Is that true, John?
I guess John cannot hear us.
All right, then maybe we put this off until later in the meeting and see if I know he's stuck
On
in
the
traffic
road.
trying to get home. Yeah, so let's skip that one for now.
And go to 6C, policy reviews, 1, adult and technical services.
Yes. So this
Hi.
is Tegan. For anybody that doesn't know Tegan, she's the Adult and Technical Services Manager. So for those of you that are new to the board, we have divided up all of our policies among the management team. And we bring them every year for approval by the board. It's important to us that they be updated so that if they are needing to enforce these with patrons, it's a policy that you've all seen and approved, so that we have kind of your backup for enforcing them. All right, so I'll let Tegan take it from there.
So the first one that is on my list was the collection management policy. And we did make one addition that this time. We added in the specific criteria for evaluation of electronic materials. We just added that in because there's been more and more different options with electronic materials. We've also been getting some more requests about that. So we thought it'd be good to add in some more detail with that. So we just have ease of use of the product, accessibility for multi-users of electronic format, equipment needed to provide access to the information, and technical support and training. And that was the only change we had with that one. If there's any questions about that, I can answer that.
And we will want to approve these individually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can I have a motion then to approve the collection management policy?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So the collection management policy is approved.
All right. Second one is, it's kind of part of the collection management policy, but it's the request for reconsideration of library material form. So that would be the form patrons would fill out if there was some material or item that they objected to in the collection. And we did not have any changes for that this year.
This is, I'm sure you're all aware, kind of a thing right now, that there are a lot of books being challenged. In the collection management policy that we just approved, it does limit our challenges to Fitchburg residents. There are often people that will go around to library after library after library challenging things. So we want this to be something that somebody has taken seriously. We also require that people have read the material and they can do one at a time, which I think I'm very happy to have in there because, you know, we've heard stories out of Texas where somebody, you know, challenges 870 books at the same time, none of which I think they've probably read. But I think that we're set up well for this. We did have one of these a couple of months ago, I guess. And because of what's happening in the world, I think we're all very nervous about it. It was a children's book about body image and eating disorders, and the patron felt like there were a couple problems with it, and I read it and was like, this is a terrible book. I don't know why we own it. We shouldn't own it. She's absolutely correct. And we took it out of the collection and found some better things. So this is not always a contentious, stressful thing. Sometimes it is very useful, and it's a nice way for patrons to be able to share their opinions with us.
How many of these do you get in a typical year?
0. We got one a few months ago. It's been a very long time.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Okay, if there are no further clarifications or questions, may I have a motion to approve the reconsideration form?
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been approved and seconded. May I have a vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Toby,
Okay.
sorry, can we just have one more discussion item? I have a question.
Sure.
Sure. I just noticed that at the bottom of it, it doesn't have the usual language about approved by the Fitchburg Library Board. Is that
Oh.
needed?
Yeah, we should add that for sure.
Okay.
Good catch.
Thank you, Anne. Anything else? Renee, do you want to say something? Your box is lighting up.
Oh, sorry. No, it's just windy where I am. Apologies. I'll go back
okay.
to mute.
Okay. Then all in favor of approval of the reconsideration form, please say aye.
I
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tegan, photocopy and copyright policy.
Yeah, that's the final one. So that's just notifying the public of copyright law and making sure they follow that line. We didn't have any changes with that this year. So that's what that
Yeah,
one is.
this is pretty standard, I think, across libraries, and we just put this up for our own protection.
Comments, questions, concerns?
one very minor one. Sorry, this is Anne again. Since we added that separate section about material that is electronic, do we need to add any additional language that there's electronic material? that would follow the copyright laws. I know we say audiobooks, we say
Mhm.
computer games and programs, but we don't say anything about electronic material. We say books and other printed material.
I haven't seen that added anywhere, but let's do this. Let's start taking a look around for that, and possibly add it either later this year or when we do this next year. But we can certainly double check and see if that's something that should be added. I haven't seen it anywhere yet, but I haven't really been searching for it. So let's take a look and see what we find. But maybe keep this as is for the moment.
Sounds good.
Does that work? Okay.
Boy, Wendy, I was hoping we were going to have unfinished business for the first time.
Ow.
Darn. All in favor then of, I'm sorry, did we get a motion to approve?
No.
Okay, then. May I have a motion to approve the photocopy and copyright policy?
So moved.
Thank you, Jay. I'll second it. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Kagan. Will you
you.
hang out for the rest of the policies and then you can go?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, youth services. Code of
All right.
conduct.
Code of conduct. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Yeah, the first one I have is the code of conduct policy. We had one change that we recommended in this one, and it's in the unacceptable behavior section, and it's under the animals may not be tethered and left unattended. We would like to take out tethered, I guess, and out of that part, because we are having some issues with animals being left in cars and creating a disturbance by barking a lot and stuff like that. And if we take out tethered, it takes out the wiggle room of saying, well, my dog's not tethered, so I can let him bark all afternoon.
We have a howler
Yeah,
that has been in the parking lot a number of times that is making other people very upset.
yes. And that's basically the one change that we have to the code of conduct policy.
I
Any
will say, I think this is the policy that we rely on the most.
Yeah.
I think this is the one that we have to enforce the most. So it, I think is one of the most important ones that we keep up to date.
I assume that under unacceptable behavior, the first bullet point, harassment, includes things like bullying, verbal bullying.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes, we leave that one a little bit vague because it covers a whole lot of sins.
Yep, exactly.
So did we want to do the motion and then ask questions? Because this one I did have a couple questions.
Yeah, let's do the
You
motion
wanna-
first.
Yeah, okay.
I'll
Okay.
move appro-
Thank you, Jay. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Anne?
Okay, so on unacceptable behavior where it says drunkenness,
Mhm.
just knowing that there are other forms of inebriation, so to speak,
Mhm.
besides drunkenness, I would like to use a different word than drunkenness
Uh-huh.
Okay.
because there's all kinds of mind altering substances out there that can affect someone's behavior.
Do you think
Mhm.
inebriation would do it?
Yeah, I think I don't know, what does the board think? That word just really,
Yeah.
The state of Wisconsin likes the word intoxication.
okay,
So that's
Oh.
the word that's used in state statutes. They don't talk about being drunk. They talk about it being intoxicated, which covers any kind of mind altering substance.
Okay.
great.
And the second bullet point says patrons cannot possess, sell, or be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Would that cover it then, Anne?
Well, it's, so I could possess something and show completely normal behavior,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need both.
I think we need both,
One is a behavior and one is, I feel like, kind of an action, but I feel like
right?
I would rather have both of them.
So just quick question. So we are taking out in the first bullet point drunkenness and putting in intoxication and then leaving the second bullet point. Is this correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then under room designation, and this is really particular, but you guys know me.
Yeah.
For the safety and comfort of youth patrons, comma, the library board of trustees has enacted the following policies and guidelines.
Yep.
And
We-
in
Perfect.
unattended child policy, where it
Mhm.
says, it's the first paragraph, to provide long dash or short dash term childcare. And then my final
Okay.
comment was, do we need, and this is just a question for the board, do we need another bullet point for minors that are ages 8 through 17? We just say any child ages 7 or younger, but we don't include behavior for the other group of minors.
So I think the reason we're doing this is because I feel like you can come to the library if you're 8 by yourself. If you have a behavior problem, we're probably going to ask you to leave. But I don't expect for you to have a parent there for me to ask them to have you leave. If that makes sense. I think if you're between the ages of 8 and 17, the whole policy applies to you. But we would be discussing it with you, not with your caregiver. Does that make sense?
I guess I just don't, we talk about code of conduct.
Mhm.
And maybe this is true. Maybe that whole first unacceptable behavior section is for any patron
Yes.
ages
Yep.
8 or above.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think the code of conduct, like the unacceptable behavior, really applies to everybody. I think it's more of who we're
Yeah.
going to be discussing the problem with. I don't feel like a 6-year-old can handle that conversation or the responsibility of that. I think we want, if you're 7 or younger, that we have a parent that's going to take responsibility for that.
Right. No,
Can-
totally agreed. Sorry, Tim.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, could I say something quick?
Yeah.
So in the past, I've been here since we opened. It hasn't happened in several years, but we've had like 9, 10-year-olds, even 11-year-olds that have had issues and problems. And what we do is we first address the issue and the problem with them and let them know what part of the code of conduct isn't working with the behavior that they're giving us. And then I kind of do this thing where it happens one time. And then if it happens again, I come talk to you on the next day when it happens that time. And then sooner or later, I reach out to the parent. And I've had conversations with several of them over the years, sometimes even up in Wendy's office in a little group setting. But I think the not having the 8 to 12, I just want to let you know kind of how I've handled that in the past, even though we just say 7 and under.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we want to put 8 to 12 in there, or 8 to 17 or whatever.
I really think that the issue that this is looking at is unattended children. So parents that think they can leave their kids alone in the library as a means of babysitting, as a means of going to work, daycare, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we also get requests like somebody wants to leave their 5-year-old downstairs with their telephone, and they're going to be up in a meeting, or they're going to run across the street and get coffee from the Oasis or something like that. We've even had patrons come in and say, my babysitter, it only has happened a few times, but my babysitter called in. Is it possible for me to leave my daughter here for today? And the answer is no. You know what I mean? And I'm very glad you asked, because the answer is no, so yeah, I think it's kind of like that for the underattended, where I want to be in the building, but I just don't want to be right there by their side. And then the unattended, where I'm actually leaving the building style. No.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense, Tim. I just wanted to make sure the library was covered for that.
Yeah.
That interesting age group.
Yeah, that's
9 through 13.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate that too.
I have a question. Just came up right now as you're talking about this. So we would allow an 8-year-old to be in the library unattended, correct?
Mhm.
So God forbid, there is a shooting incident at the library, who was responsible for getting that minor child at age 8 out of the library? And I don't know that we have an answer for that.
Oh, I don't think we do. I think that we try to take responsibility for everybody in the building.
Oh.
If we have a tornado tonight, we will take everybody in the building down to the tornado shelter. But I don't know that I can tell you, like legally, I don't know.
And we had talked pre-pandemic about talking to the new police chief at the time about, revisiting shooting things. And then of
Yeah.
course, pandemic hit.
And we've done active shooter training before the pandemic during an in-service, and I don't feel like, so it was with some library staff from Janesville.
Right.
And it was really interesting because the question is like, who are you responsible for? Are you responsible for the kids or are you responsible for yourself? And they basically said like, we can't answer that. Like it is in the moment of what you can do and what the situation is. Like there's no prescription for that because the circumstances are completely different every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
On a situation like that, ultimately, it's going to be the police department that's going to be responsible for getting children back to their parents.
Right.
But I think you're asking about specifically getting them out of the building. And in an evacuation scenario, I've been in one of those before, and everyone kind of works together to get everyone out. I mean, it's not like there's going to be 2,500 people in the library at once. So it's not going to be a stampede crowd that we're dealing with.
Yeah. And I think it also puts the decision of whether a parent thinks that their child is mature enough or if they feel like it's safe enough to have their child here alone. I mean, I think there's a whole lot of parents that would say no, that they're not going to do that until their kids are 10 or 12 or who
Right.
knows. But I think that's a parental decision, not our decision.
If we're done with that, I want to go backward to the animal thing.
Yeah.
So do we know who this person is who has the howling animal?
I don't think I have a name. No.
Oh, okay. So how would you go about enforcing this if they're out in the parking lot in the car?
I think we would probably announce the make and model and the plate of the car, and tell them that it's become an issue.
Yep.
So I guess the next question is, because if you're concerned that tethered is going to create a problem with enforcement, library premises may create a similar problem. What exactly is the library premises? I mean,
So I would say the building and the parking lots.
Yeah,
That's
but
how we've used that.
if you were to go up the hill to City Hall parking lot, is that going to be library premises? And what if they're parked in those angle spots on the street next to the building? So I guess I would, if you're concerned that tethered might be creating an enforcement problem, I would like to have the phrase library premises widened to kind of encompass more of an area. Because I mean, they could be 10 feet further away in the City Hall parking lot and still be causing
Sure.
a disturbance in the library. And I don't know how you go about.
Would you be comfortable changing this to city campus? City Hall campus?
If it's creating a disturbance within the library and it's on the city campus, I think that's fair game.
Okay.
So I think that would cover. I would probably put city property because that would also cover. I don't know if the street parking would be considered city campus, but it's definitely city property.
Sure. Okay. All right. I'm okay with that change.
And
So-
people should be leaving their dogs in the car anyway while they're at the library. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It's interesting how quickly that gets other patrons riled up, especially if it's warm out. The two times that we've had this problem, it has not been warm out, but it is still, it bothers people a lot.
Yeah.
Fitchburg itself might have a law against that.
I don't know if we do have an ordinance in regard to that, but now that you have prompted me, I will look it up.
I know, now I'll find out.
Thank you, Jay.
All
When-
right, are we
oh.
good to, yeah, and
One more. So I've been thinking about how we are using patron to mean anyone from, ages 8 and above. And Tim was talking about the measures that he has taken when there are conduct violations for minors. And I'm just wondering if some of the language under conduct violations should be changed or amended, because it'll say the patron will be advised in writing. So if we were considering some of these are minors, shouldn't we say the patron or patron's parents if a minor?
or guardian, I mean,
or
maybe we just say guardian.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
guardian will be advised in writing.
Yep.
And then maybe, consider, because it seemed like Tim was really thoughtful in how he was approaching those, maybe put that out for minors and spell it right out. The first time you will be talked to, the second time we will, send you home. The third time you will have a suspension, just so it's really clear. You don't have an angry parent coming to the library and saying, you're treating my child differently than you do other children or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
My only concern with putting that down, that exactly, is that I feel like there is a lot of, like, the staff have to use their best judgment depending on what the situation is.
Oh,
Tim, did you want to-
yeah, I actually have a good example of that. I could probably give you a bunch of good examples, but like something simple like noise or let's say kind of trashing up a room a little bit. That's some warning stuff. We're on the first thing. I've had teen patrons. We've had them where one has punched someone else. That just instantly goes straight to the end of that category. We're not even giving warnings at this point. Not only am I calling the police, I am calling your parents, and stuff like that. So it is a little tricky, like you're saying, Wendy, to put down the exact process that we would use. And I
Severity,
like- I
severity
like
needs
the
to be
idea.
considered for sure. I forgot about that punching thing, but yeah, I mean, that has, you have to go right now, and there's going to be
Yeah,
a lot of recriminations. Whereas if you're not doing something kind of annoying, but not,
there was that time too where we had the male patron intimidating his girlfriend or something like that in the teen room.
Yes.
And that is instantly in my book when you're being threatening to another patron, especially when you are bigger, and the way it was about, like, we're beyond these steps. And even though you may feel I'm treating you different, the situation calls for a different treatment.
So I think it's very important that we train the staff in, like, use of warnings and maybe a 1, 2, 3 and then a written, but I think that we need to leave it a little bit broader for kind of dealing with whatever the details of the situation are, if that makes sense.
I see benefits to both. So both ways.
I wish it was as easy as saying 1, 2, 3. That would be lovely. It really is. All right, are we
ready to vote?
Ready to vote?
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on the code of conduct.
Excellent. Thank you. The second policy I had was the record retention policy. And I think I mention this every year, but if you're new to the board, basically it's a policy that is for Wisconsin public libraries. We don't write the policy. We just make sure we follow the policy. It has not been updated this year, so I have no changes to make to it.
Can I have a motion to approve the record retention policy?
So moved.
Okay, and I will second it. Questions, clarifications, discussion? Okay.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Then the record retention policy passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Tim and Tate can go home now.
Yep. All right. I'm going to take a
Thank you.
shower. Yes.
Hey,
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Have a good
All
night.
right, thank you. Bye.
Shall we try to go back to 6A, electing the vice president, if
Yes, if we
John
can.
is available?
John, can
guess-
you hear us?
Okay, maybe it's unfinished business.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it
All right,
is.
we'll move
All
that
right.
to next month.
For
Yep.
number 7, president's report, I do not have anything to report. We'll move on to the number 8, library director report.
All right, so we got a couple of different things. We had our summer reading program kickoff last Friday, and it was fantastic. We had Haven's Petting Farm, and it was out in front of City Hall. And our best estimate is between 500 and 600 people attended. It was a real nice size. People came and went, so it wasn't completely insane. Well, Tim might feel differently. It was a lot of people, but it was really good because it was outside. The chicken was the star of the show because he laid an egg right in the middle of the corral, in the middle of the program. And the owner tried to tell everybody it was the cow that laid the egg. So that was super fun. Pony rides, whole thing. It was great. Our gate count at the front door at noon that day was 402 people. And we were at 600 by the end of the day. So for those of you that are not familiar, before the pandemic, we averaged about 600 people in the building a day. We have not been anywhere near that since COVID. So that was our first 600 plus day. We've been well over 400 for the last couple of days as well. So things have really picked up. Checkouts were great. Happy to see it. There's still, I think, a little bit of like, oh, that's a lot of people in one place. But I think everybody's adjusting to it. Staff are still mostly masking at the desks, which I think is smart. We've actually been going through a lot of masks for the patrons as well. So I think people are coming in and thinking like, oh, maybe with this many people, we're going to put a mask on. So things are going very well. We've also started with outreach programs. We talked a little bit about that before the meeting started, but Minda has started. This was her first week of pop-up libraries. So on Monday they were at Swan Creek and they got rained on. And today they were at Southdale and it was 1,000 degrees. So they've been through all the weather so far and we're hoping maybe they're done with weather for the season, but who knows? We did hire 2 part-time summer outreach assistants. We got it done super fast. So they were here for the first week, which is kind of a minor miracle. So that has worked out really well. Next update. Jay, you might have to tell me if I know what I'm talking about. So the council last night had on their agenda approving telephonic meetings through the end of the year. And I believe it passed.
No, it was referred out to committee.
It was.
Yes.
Who
that
did
was
it go
in,
to?
that was in the consent agenda.
Okay. Oh,
And
so it's going to come back in 2 weeks.
So that, well, give me a second here. I wasn't prepared for that question.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'd love.
I was
being
real excited when I saw it on the agenda because that would put us on Zoom for the rest of the year, which I think would make everybody sort of comfortable.
Let me just there we go. Data transferring. This is so exciting.
What's it going to be? What's it going to be?
All
All right, I'm going to go on. Interrupt me when you have something, okay?
You'll be the first to know.
Okay, just an update. We had our first work group meeting for the Dane County Library Standards group. It's like a subset of 5 or 6 Dane County Library directors got together to talk about the standards and why they exist and why they are what they are. Everybody seemed very open to making some updates. I think everybody was sort of not real committed to the collection size standard, which is one of the ones that we're bumping up against. And we did a lot of talking about how it was not very long ago that we had to spend a certain amount of money or add a certain number of audiobooks and movies, and that we've taken a lot of the detail of that out. So good discussion about maybe it's just the overall expenditure that should be counted, because now with more digital things, that those are hard to quantify as far as like volumes that you own. So that was a good discussion. We also had a good discussion about staffing. So I sort of explained that, you know, we're looking at a new sorter in 2023. And I feel like that sort of takes the place of a certain number of staff that I don't know that we should have to meet the staff standard. And some of the smaller libraries were interested in that discussion because self-checks also kind of come into play there. So if you have a self-check, then maybe you don't need to have as many staff at the circulation desk. So everybody was very open about those discussions. Tracy Harold, who is the Dane County Library Director, is writing a white paper to share with the whole directors group to talk about changes. We also talked about maybe we need to put a 5-year time limit on like how often we need to review them for updates. So that went really well. I can't say yet whether it's gonna change by the end of the year. It will come to all of the library boards for approval before it goes to the Dane County Board, but I feel very hopeful about that. So there's that. Jay, what do you know?
So it wasn't referred anywhere. I guess it's just coming back to council. I don't know why it wasn't just put under new business, but
Oh, huh.
it was just referred back to the council, which seemed strange to me.
So they'll vote on that on the 28th of June.
It looks like it's intended to be
Okay.
voted on 28th,
Okay.
and the current resolution goes through the end of June. So
Yeah. So hopefully we'll know more at the next meeting. I'll share
Yeah.
that. Okay. I think that's all for the director's report.
So item number 9, committee reports, strategic planning,
Nothing for strategic planning.
facilities.
The chiller is running full bore and it is keeping us cool, which is saying a lot for the last couple of days. Yeah, so fingers crossed that continues.
Okay, personnel.
Personnel, I do have news as of today. One of our full-time library assistant 3s in circulation took a job at Middleton where she's going to move up into a supervisory role and she's going to be amazing at it. But we're going to miss her because she's been here for 9 years now. But so we will be posting that job shortly and hoping to fill it before the end of the summer. So that is a full-time library assistant 3 with benefits. So hopefully we'll have a real nice group of candidates for that. That's all for personnel.
Okay, number 10, announcements. The next library board meeting is Wednesday, July 20th at 5:30. And I need a motion to adjourn, please.
so moved.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Oh, it's John. Do we want to go
Yes,
back?
okay. Sure. I'm now unmuted. I'm not sure why I was unmuted to begin with.
Wendy, is it too late to go back? Should we just do that next time?
Yeah, let's do it next time.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Fine.
all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries at 6:14 p.m. Stay
Excellent.
safe driving home, everyone.
Yes, thanks everyone.